I saw your video um, about maybe like a year ago, and I was pretty blown away by it.
H.L. Mencken wrote in the American Mercury for April 1924 that the aim of public education is not to fill the young of this species with knowledge and awaken their intelligence. Nothing could be further from the truth. The aim is simply to reduce as many individuals as possible to the same safe level, to breed and train a standardized citizenry, to put down dissent and originality. That is the aim in the United States.
I had always had an underlying hate for schooling, but when you're like one dissenting voice and the entire weight of the system is telling you that you need school, you need all the shit that they tell you need, it's kind of difficult to honor that little voice inside you, that intuitive voice that you know is onto something. So watching your speech was just one extra affirmation for me that I'm not alone and that there are very smart people with very good points to make about this. I guess my first question for you is it must have taken a lot of courage to get up there in front of all those people, all those administrators, and give that speech. Um, why did you do something so crazy like that?
Good question. No one's ever asked it like that. But yes, why did I do something so crazy like that? I felt like I had to, really. I felt like there was no other choice. I didn't know that was what I was going to say when I was finally announced valedictorian, because it was close. It was a close call. I was really fighting for it. And then I got it. And they said, all right, so now you get to give a speech. And I thought, okay, what am I going to write? It has to be epic, It has to be like Martin Luther King Jr. style. and I was just trying to come up with the greatest thing to say, just something really monumental. And as I'm writing these things, coming up with ideas, trying to be really positive, I just felt like I wasn't being true to myself and what I really felt. So I was like, well, you know what? Maybe I do have to say something negative about my whole high school career. Or maybe the whole thing will be negative. I don't know. So I just let it flow and I just let it come out. And so I felt like that was just what I needed to say. It couldn't have come out any other way. Otherwise, I would have felt like I was being fake.
Right. So when did you first start questioning the school system?
It's hard to tell for me because I don't think I actually really realized my feelings towards it until I put it on paper. I remember going through high school feeling really disheartened, like a robot. I would just go, and I wouldn't really like going to school. I would just go and do what I was told, and it was a very robotic process. I didn't think about it much, but I did remember feeling numb, like, what am I doing here? Kind of thinking about it, but nothing really grabbed me until my final year, because my senior year, I was actually going to community college for the whole year because I wanted to get out of high school as soon as possible, and I knew, I had found out about a program where I could get my high school classes, required classes done by doing them at a community college, so completely college classes, also getting college credit, but let's say government class was required or economics class was required still in my high school degree, I would just go take that class at community college. So I was really absent from my high school for my final year, and I was experiencing a taste of college, and I remember just befriending one of my professors, and I told him one day, I was like, I don't want to go to college. And I was almost in tears when I said it, and I really realized it at that moment. I don't want to go to college. I don't know what I want to do, but I don't want to go to college. I just feel so trapped, and like I'm expected to, but I don't want to. And then I told my dad, and he was just like, well, what are you going to do? Because you're not going to work here. And I was like, Well, I don't know.
You don't go to
I don't
college,
know.
you're not
I
gonna
really had to.
you're not gonna get a job, you're gonna be poor, blah 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 blah. You know, the usual nonsense they tell us.
Right. So I really had to think about it, and what happened was my dad did convince me, all right, try out university for a semester, see if you like it. Go to this one. This one has a lot of different majors. You can take whatever classes and just figure out what you want to do. And I'm like, all right, I'll try it. So I did. So I tried it, and yeah, then I just realized I didn't want to be there. And I left, and I started traveling, and I did go back for a little bit for a semester. Actually, this last semester, I went to a different university. So now I have 2 years done of my 4-year degree, and I still am on the rocks about even what I've chosen as what I'm getting my degree in. But I've realized there's been a lot of jobs that I've actually applied for and wanted to apply for, but it says you need a bachelor's degree or things like that. So I just decided, I'll just go get the bachelor's degree. I found a way that I can finish it up completely online through University of Illinois. And the program that they offer is offered on campus, so it'll actually look like I did it on campus, and it's not really just one of those generic online degrees. So at least what I'm realizing is I can still have this location independence and travel and try new things, but still be doing my college degree online, because I'm just accepting the fact that people want to see college degree. And even just simple things like I want to go teach English in China or whatever, a college degree is mandatory there. It's actually the law. Or I think South Korea is the law. And so, just even though I may not agree with these things, I just have to accept them.
Yeah, in a way you kind of have to conform. I have a theory, and maybe this is just me being a little paranoid, but it almost seems like a lot of employers demand degrees, and what my theory is that part of the reason they do that is they want to know who is an obedient worker and who isn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and who has debt, so they'll stay for a while so they can pay off their debt.
Yeah, I posted on Facebook the other day to some controversy from others. I posted something along the lines of, what if gifted students are just the most effective cotton pickers on the plantation? Basically implying that, what if hardworking students are just the most obedient, subservient, who follow orders and do what they're told and are good at memorizing and regurgitating stuff? I didn't say it to kind of put down gifted students, but some people took it quite offensively, which is understandable. They built their entire sense of self on being gifted students. So, but yeah, it is interesting. It's a weird way of viewing the world, where people like you and I and John Taylor Gatto and many others, as this perspective starts to grow, where now it seems like almost everything is inverted. We were taught that if you got good grades, that meant you were great. You were of exceptional value in the marketplace. You were this, you were that, and now it's starting to seem like the complete literal, like the complete opposite. Like being the best student is not necessarily an indicator of extreme potential. And if you look at like some of the most successful people, high school dropouts, college dropouts, Bill Gates, countless individuals who are successful, but they were not successful in school. What do you think about that dynamic?
Oh, I totally agree with it. I think it makes sense. I think the entrepreneurial spirit comes from a place where you actually have this need to make a living. You don't, you don't have the support structure behind you, and you're really independent, and you decide to go after something on your own, and you have to teach yourself it. And I admire that too, and I always wish I had it. And I'm trying to nurture that right now. I've been kind of dabbling in a few different business ideas for the past couple of years, and I haven't exactly stuck to one yet, but I'm kind of still, easing myself into it. And I guess with me, I just feel like my whole life I've known the opposite of the entrepreneurial spirit, just the obedient spirit. And I don't know if I can fully get over it. Maybe there's a part of me that really does want that stability and that comfort of a normal kind of job, like college degree job, but maybe having a little business on the side. I don't know, diversify a little bit. But yeah, I admire people that are actually brilliant outside of school. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, if you could elaborate, to what extent do you think schooling is destructive? Like, in your speech, you go pretty hardcore. You say things like, it's designed to make us, we're judged by standardized testing. It's designed to keep us, I forgot the words you used, but you kind of use kind of damning words that it basically it represses us, it holds us back from our true potential. Do you really believe those things, or was that just kind of like fluff for the speech?
Well, in my perspective, I really believe it because I feel like I didn't have a passion. I was just good at everything. I didn't know what I really wanted to do. Maybe there are valedictorians out there who totally know what they want to do, and they're like, I'm definitely going to be a lawyer. I'm definitely going to be a doctor. I don't know. You know? For me, I just felt like I wasn't what I was really doing, and I've realized actually that there's a part of me that wants to be a performer, wants to be an entertainer, that has really little to do with the academic life that I was brought up in. Yeah. I had actually taken dance lessons when I was little. I was in all the school plays, and then middle school came around, and I don't know what happened. I just ended up not doing it anymore. Maybe my parents just had taken me out of it, whatever. But I still had opportunities in school to do school plays, and I just didn't take them because I felt like instead of on just academics, and then outside of school, I didn't really want to focus. I didn't want to have this extracurricular drama club. I wanted to work, make money, you know, things.
Left brain stuff.
And if I get my A's good, then I leave school. I can go have my real, you know. And so I never pursued that passion that was still inside of me, but I didn't realize it. And in school, I have come across dancers and performers, and taught me a little bit of stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is really something that I do want to work on. So I am working on it, and I'm glad that I was able to take myself out of that, you know, assembly line life where I was just supposed to go to college, and now I can just really figure out what my passion is, because that's what the main problem was.
Isn't life so exciting once you realize it's not the mundane prison that we're taught it is?
Oh yeah, it's definitely exciting. It's a little bit more stressful because you don't have this like security blanket, but it's more exciting for sure.
Yeah, definitely. How did your like colleagues or friends react to your speech?
Okay, so my peers, like after the speech, I remember a few of them that were also in the accelerated classes with me. They came up to me after the graduation ended and just said thank you. They were like, wow, that's how I feel. I can't believe you said that. Thank you so much. And that felt good. I was like, okay, good. So there's people that agree with me, because this was before that it ended up online. So I had no idea that what I was saying was even valid at all, except for, you know, I had presented it to a teacher of mine just to get some advice, and she told me about John Taylor Gatto, and I was like, okay, so he agrees with me too. That's cool. So it was like me and him. Well, who else is gonna agree with me? So then I found out some other students agreed with me. But then there were a lot of students that didn't agree with me. Some students just didn't care. They just probably didn't even pay attention to what I was saying. Just wanted to get it over with. It was so long. Why'd you have to go on and on? You know. And but there were some that just felt like I was calling them stupid because they thought, oh, if I'm valedictorian and I'm feeling stupid, then what are they? And there was some there was one I remember, she said I was being ungrateful And I understand, like, I definitely understand from that perspective, that there are people in this world that have no opportunity at all. They want an education just for even basic skills like reading and writing, which I think are necessary, and I'm really glad that I have had the opportunity to learn that. But I think that's all we need. We just need that skill of reading and writing, communication skills, and then we can learn whatever we want. I don't think I needed like 12 years of schooling just to learn reading and writing, you know. So
after like about middle school, maybe even a little bit before that, I think school becomes futile.
I think
Once
grade
you're
school
learning like advanced algebra, but you fucking hate algebra the way I did, it becomes a bit like pointless, you know?
yeah, I don't know, even math, like you can just naturally learn that, I think.
Well, math is just symbolic logic.
Yeah.
It's just logic in symbol form. So, you know, a lot of times I remember being in math class, like in high school, and like there would be certain lesson plans and problems that I would have to solve, and I couldn't solve it the way I was taught to solve it, but just by using my common sense, I could figure the fucking problem out.
Right,
And
right.
that always pissed me off. It's like, what am I like a math genius, but I don't know it?
Yeah,
So
and there's people that can figure out problem the way the teacher tells them to, but they don't actually understand what they're doing, which was me. That was me the whole time.
right. Yeah, my older brother is, well, I guess you could say he was a math teacher because he's quitting this year. He's been a teacher for 2 or 3 years now, and little by little, he started to realize how full of shit the whole damn thing was. And this is his final year. He's only got 3 days left teaching, and for him, it's just been this gradual erosion process. And it's interesting because with him, like, not only has he realized that the school system is crap, but in his epiphany about the school system, he's begun to see the greater epiphanies about, you know, government in general. The way government works, the ways that the school system is structured with its rigid rules and regulations, and you know, brainwashing people to obedience. He sees the same qualities in, you know, general society. So for him, it's been an all-out epiphany. Like, he went from not discussing anything like libertarianism or, you know, anarchism or any of these ideas to that's all he thinks about now. And it's just crazy. It's just crazy to see how things have gotten this way. On John Taylor Gatto, have you read any of his books? I suppose you have, right?
No, I've read his essays, a couple of his essays. I haven't read any books yet. No.
Dude, I was reading the audiobook version of one of his books. What's it called? I forget the name. It's oh yeah, Weapons of Mass Instruction. By the way, if you have an Audible account, you can get the audiobook and just listen to it when you're out doing things. It's pretty good.
Okay.
But anyways, yeah, that book is so fucking damning. I mean, everything about that book is just like, and he doesn't even stop. And he kind of goes into kind of conspiracy land a little bit, which I'm totally cool with, because if the school system itself could be this rotten and corrupt, it wouldn't surprise me if there's deeper levels that we don't know about. Do you have any like suspicious or pessimistic views about why the school system is the way it is? Like, what are your theories on why it became this way?
Well, I know that okay. What's her name? Iserbit. She wrote a book.
Yeah.
What is it called?
Her name's Charlotte Iserbit. Yeah, it's kind of a strange name. But yeah, the name of the book is The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America.
Right, and so she goes into the history of it all, like who originally funded public education, right? And it really was just to have a mass workforce, right? So, I mean, what?
Yeah, that's pretty much what she says, essentially.
Yeah, and it makes sense to me. Like, people need to know certain skills in order to be productive in what was happening during the industrial era of our country. And today, the skills are just increasing. Computer skills, of course, very important. But that's the thing, like, I don't think we need public education to force everyone to learn those skills. I don't think that's the way that it could be most effective. I think that I learned computer skills because I was brought up in a household with a computer, not because I took computer classes in high school. And if I do want to learn something special like Microsoft Access, I could just learn it from my computer with tutorials or whatever. I don't need a class. However, yeah, Google, Google's my god. Like anything I want to learn, I type it in there, and somehow I find it. And yeah, I mean, there's the whole thing of like you don't know what you don't know. So this last semester at university, I had to choose a minor. I didn't know I had to, so last minute I chose informatics, just like data management kind of stuff. And so I took this class, computer applications for business. It was mandatory for this minor, and so I learned Microsoft Excel and Microsoft Access, and I never really felt like the need to learn these things, although it was cool. It was cool to get these skills, the introduction to these skills. But I know that if I had to learn it, if there was really a field that I wanted to go into, and it like I was like all the job postings were saying must have proficiency in Excel and Access, I would just do it on my own. So it was really just kind of out of the blue that I took this class, and now I can say, yeah, I know how to work these tools, but I don't even know if I really need them. That's the thing. Maybe I will.
I'm a firm believer that, internal motivation is the key to all learning. Like, you have to be internally motivated. That is the spark that drives your curiosity.
I feel like my motivation was just getting A's, and therefore I didn't actually learn all that I could have, like I said in the speech. And especially things that it appeared that I was learning, I wasn't even actually learning. I was just memorizing and throwing away, But even today, today I went to a tutor training course because I'm really into teaching English as a second language. And now that I'm in Albuquerque, there's a lot of Spanish speakers. They want to learn English. And I really like doing that one-on-one tutoring. So this is just one example of how there are programs that exist that are meant to help people learn what they want to learn if they need a person to teach them. Like, let's say these people don't know how to use a computer, they don't know how to use Google, so they really do need a person to help them. But it's not through a school, it's just a community effort, just saying like, hey, look, there's a need in our community, and we're volunteers, we're going to solve it. And even, it doesn't even have to be a volunteer thing, like, just businesses sprout up. It's just because there are needs in the community, and I just think that schools are becoming obsolete because of this, because there are so many needs to learn so many different things that you just can't get in a regular school, and it just goes beyond age too. School is only for kids up to 21, I think is the legal limit. You can't go to school anymore. So then what? You're just hopeless? No, you just go off and you find these other resources that exist. So
I think the key word you said there was voluntary. School obviously is based on force. It's taxation, so you don't really have a choice. Marketplace demand doesn't determine whether or not school exists. It just fucking exists because the government, rams it down your throat because of their own political agenda.
Right.
But that really is the point. Like, I wouldn't even be so much against schooling if it was voluntary. And I'm sure if there was like a voluntary little utopian community somewhere where there wasn't government mandates, a school probably would pop up, but it would be, first of all, it'd be probably totally different than the schools we're used to. And they would be just healthy little learning environments where people, because teachers, because the teachers in this little voluntary school wouldn't be guaranteed a paycheck through taxation. They'd have to work for the fucking money. They would be more incentivized to innovate and evolve the fuck out of the teachings and the way that they interact with their students. So I think that's the key word there is voluntary, and that really comes down to like a whole political philosophy that underlies the whole deal. But yeah, I think if you took the force out of it, that would solve the majority of the problems. But with these teachers, and they have they got their union contracts and their tenure where they could. I don't know if you ever saw that special by John Stossel called "Stupid in America," and he talks about there are teachers who've been convicted, public school teachers have been convicted of pedophilia against the students, totally convicted. But because of the union contract, they can't fire them. So because they can't fire them, but they don't want to have pedophiles teaching students, all they can do is put the pedophiles in what they call a rubber room.
Oh,
Which is
yeah.
like yeah, exactly. So they put them in this off-site building, and they just
And they
sit
still
in a
get
room.
paid.
Huh?
And they still get paid?
And they still get paid. I mean, that's the insanity of taxation. That's the insanity of government forced anything, really. Um, so, uh, have you heard of unschooling?
Yeah. Actually, I lived with an unschooling family for 2 months, and it was really awesome. And I actually consider myself an unschooler. Even when I go to school, I still consider myself an unschooler to this day because I see unschooling as just life, and it's a way to view life. It's a way to just say like, hey, I'm directing my education. So, like, before, I felt like I was being forced to go to college, and by force, I mean persuaded by society. I felt expected to go. But now, it's all my decision. I get to decide. I get to choose the direction of my life. So, therefore, I feel like even when I'm sitting in a classroom, I'm an unschooler. I'm choosing what information is important to me, what information I want to take in, whether or not I even care about getting an A in the class or not.
Yeah.
So yeah, and every day too. Like it's just I've decided learning is important to me. I want to learn something new every day, at least one thing new every day, but hopefully many more. Yeah.
There's a fascinating TED talk, and I forget the guy's name, but he basically did an experiment where he went to a third world country where there's like no infrastructure, and he put a computer in a wall
Yeah.
in an alleyway. You hear about
Yep.
that?
Yeah.
All right, so well, for viewers who may not know, so he basically puts a computer in the wall, and he gives it internet connection, and basically he leaves it there, and he comes back like 3 months later to see, what happened, and all the local kids from that area were, they just flocked to the computer. They would spend hours on the internet. They would seek information. And he elaborated and he continued the experiment in different circumstances until the point where the kids were spontaneously, voluntarily learning like things that, children in America wouldn't learn for another 10 years. So yeah, it's just amazing. That goes back to internal motivation. That goes back to being driven from within, not being forced to do things by a tax-based system. Whole thing is crazy. So I noticed, we're just gonna get off topic a little bit here, but I noticed that you shared a video on your Facebook page. Actually, it was one of mine. Actually, it's Joe Rogan and NASA physicists were living in the Matrix. I was curious. Like, you seem kind of interested in that, which is pretty far out there kind of theory. Why are you interested in that? Are you even that interested in it? Where does that come from?
Yeah, I was introduced to Tom Campbell's book, My Big Toe. I really liked it. I do see it as it's a world I'm not physically familiar with, you know, like if there really are ways to access some kind of alternate reality, I have not done so. The furthest I've gone is lucid dreaming. Um, but hey, you know, there's people out there who say that they can do these crazy things, and why not? Why not just be open to that possibility that maybe there is more out there than we're directly experiencing right now. So I'm always open to it. I can't testify to it, but I'd say it's definitely worth exploring. That's all I gotta say.
They don't teach that in school, do they?
Oh no, no, not
Yeah.
at all.
Yeah, that's actually an interesting point that me and a friend were talking about like about a week ago. That the way that the school system, they can only teach you the status quo, because obviously at the end of the day they have to give you a grade. So they can't really teach you anything that's too controversial, because if there's only one right answer on the test, but the information they're teaching you, there are alternative perspectives and opinions out there, then if there actually is different information sources, different answers to the same question, because things aren't as black and white and certain as they might make you think, then there goes the entire grading standardized testing system. We were saying this in reference to economics, and how there's like two major branches of economics. There's Austrian economics and Keynesian economics. And Keynesian is basically what they teach in school, because Keynesianism supports big government. And we were talking about how Keynesianism, from the Austrian perspective, is totally full of shit, literally backwards from what the Austrian perspective is. So if I go into a classroom and I take an economics test, and the answers I put in are the answers based on my Austrian interpretation. By the way, the Austrian economics are the ones who predict economic recessions, a decade in advance, and no one seems to, notice that. All while the Keynesians are full of shit, and essentially they're the philosophic perspective that is creating most of these economic problems. So if I were to go in and take that test and give an Austrian perspective answer, I would fail, even though the debate is not settled when it comes to economics.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I feel like everything's perspective, even mathematics, which we could say is just fact. It's not. It's created by humans. It's symbols. It's a different way to look at least like our mathematics could be different than a different form of mathematics.
True.
And like R.D. Lang, I think, was the person that said this, that we're all just living in a socially shared hallucination, which goes along with what we were saying about the Matrix, whatever. So really, we're all just creating reality, like even just with our language and with our culture, we're choosing what to teach our children because that's what we're comfortable with, that's what we want to continue in our society. Not everyone, but like the mainstream, our public education system, we're just creating it. We're telling them this is the answer. You live in America, we drew these lines and you have to accept these lines, And they don't say it like that, but you know what I'm saying. So that's education for you, at least. It's not, it's not the Socratic form of education. It's the very opposite.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, with it is interesting what you say about how subjective reality can be, especially when it comes to like information and what we think of as true. I mean, that really is the question: is there such a thing as objective truth? And on the note of
I
objective,
don't think so, but other people seem to.
say that again.
I said I don't think there's anything that is objective, but there are people that subscribe to that belief.
Yeah, so you're an atheist, right?
Yeah, you could say that. Yes, yes, I am.
So clarify on that, because that's just a label, and there might be some generalizations mixed up in there. What exactly do you mean when you say you're an atheist?
Well, it's my opinion that no one can come to an agreement on what God really even means, so there's no point in believing in God.
Okay. So it's not so much that you're discounting the notion of a higher power. It's just that people have their own interpretations, so it's very difficult to even determine what the hell it is.
Right. It's like,
Okay.
if someone asked me if I believed in God, I would just say, what is God? And if they say, love, then I'll say, oh yeah, I believe in love.
Okay. Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned love because in Tom Campbell's book, that's like, the ultimate goal. You have to become love, which is essentially just fearlessness. Um, I found that interesting. I found that so fascinating. The idea of love, because it seems like there's a propagandized version of love. There's the kind of love you hear about on the radio 24/7. I love you this, I love you that, and it's all this very needy, codependent love. And then there's the kind that Tom Campbell would describe, which is totally different than what the pop culture version of love is. And I do believe that the pop culture version of love can be a bit disempowering at times, because it's almost like the social narrative is you cannot find happiness until you find love in another person. And I think it kind of creates like a rat race of people desperately trying to find that one person who will validate them and finally give them permission to feel happy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, love to me in our society seems to be more of a selfish endeavor when it's supposed to be selfless.
Ah, see, that's the thing, though. Is there such a thing as selflessness?
Oh, well, probably not. Well, now we're getting totally off topic.
Yeah, yeah.
No, well, fearlessness, fear really comes from selfishness. If you're fearless, I would think you're selfless. You're just letting everything else be as it is, so you're not worrying about your place in it so much. You're more focused on the outside, what's going on, and just acting as part of it more fully. So maybe there is such a thing. I think there is such a thing as selflessness. I think that it's kind of like one of those altered states of consciousness that is hard to reach for the average person, but I think it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, selflessness has always been something that's been very important to me, because it seems like people use morality as a way to, a lot of times it's a way to trick people into trusting them. This is especially true with like politicians who play the moral card, the altruist card, to convince you that they care about you, and then people naively believing that it's possible for a person to be selfless and altruistic, they end up putting their faith in a person who ultimately ends up screwing them over. So I've actually kind of gone deeply into the whole selfishness thing, and I don't think selflessness is possible. I mean, correct me here if I'm wrong, debate me if you would. It seems like to be selfless is totally against all, like, just existence, because selflessness in many ways implies like self-sacrifice. Like, it's to do something without considering yourself at all.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, is it even possible to make a decision that it doesn't serve your self-interest, at least at a very subtle, like, subconscious level?
I don't know, but
Me neither. I'm just asking
this
questions.
is how I see it. Like, if we view everything as connected, like right now we're in this state where we're seeing things as very disconnected. Clearly, you are you, I am I. But I think it's possible to be in a state where you don't see this connection. And when you don't see that disconnection and you just feel like you're a part of this, like this floor or whatever, then that's when you're selfless. And
Have you done mushrooms?
I'm not gonna answer that on camera. We'll
Okay,
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
that afterwards.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, no, because it actually you sound like what my friends sound like when they talk about a mushroom trip.
Well,
So,
have you done them?
well, I'm not concerned about saying it on air, but I guess that's because I haven't done them
No.
yet. So, yeah, actually, psychedelics kind of scare the shit out of me.
Well, why?
Uh, that's a good question. I guess I guess it's a bit of a fear of um, losing control. I suppose I have a fear of my consciousness not being in my control and kind of letting go and
Fear
letting
of
the trip
selfless.
take me. Fear of selflessness.
Yeah.
Well, if that's what a mushroom trip ultimately is, then I guess it's a fear of selflessness. But then that would make me like a selfish bastard.
I think a mushroom trip could definitely make you feel selfless, but at the same time, I don't want that to be the only way. I'm not a big fan of drug-induced states as being definitive, like to really give you answers in life, then what? So, but there are people apparently, such as Tom Campbell, who can just reach these altered states that normally you'd only be able to reach with drugs, but yet it's just through meditation, only through meditation. Um, so if it's possible with just meditation, just your own power, your own brain, your own control, or lack of control, whatever, just letting go, then that's when we can start talking about what reality really is. But I don't like to talk about it based on only drug-induced experiences.
Right. No, I actually agree with you on that. Yeah, if anything, I view drugs as a crutch. Like if you need some kind of chemical alteration to achieve different states, it's a bit of a crutch. Um, I would personally like to develop that skill through my own mental
Mm-hmm.
discipline. Um, yeah, do you have like a website or any Twitter or anything that you'd like to plug or
Well,
mention?
all I can say is I have my Facebook. Anyone's welcome to reach me, Erica Goldson. Also email ericagoldson@gmail.com. I love meeting new people. I love answering questions. I love knowing about other people's lives. So if anyone wants to hit me up, I'd be more than happy. So, but I don't have a web. I had a blog. I don't continue it anymore. It was just weird to have so many people reading about my personal life, but I'm definitely willing to have one-on-one conversations.
Okay. All right. Cool.